So the next topic that we picked is a really new one at DTU. It's the topic of neurorobotics, and Sylvia Tolu has prepared a video explaining some of the research that she does, and she'll hopefully be in the chair in a moment. So let's see the video now.
Hello, my name is Sylvia Tolu and I am the coordinator of the neurorobotics team at DTU. In our lab, as you can see, we have both rigid and soft manipulator arms and modular robots that are used as testbed for our experiments in neurorobotics. Our main interest stems from the motivation to build agents that can autonomously act in changing and unknown environments thanks to their embodied brain. Therefore, we have been developing brain-inspired adaptive control systems. As a result, we can understand how the brain works, manipulate it, and even recreate a pathological condition. In the future, this will lead to build robotic tools that will be used for assessment and even for rehabilitation of brain diseases. In neurorobotics, we study the brain of real agents, such as the mouse, and the interaction of it with the environment. Therefore, we connect the simulated brain with simulated and real agents. Brain simulations that are comprised of millions of neurons needs realistic body agents in order to perform and to reproduce accurately data from neuroscience. And realistic brains embedded into realistic body agents need at the same time realistic or high-fidelity simulated environments. One of the most studied brain areas is the cerebellum, because the cerebellum is responsible for motor control and learning. The cerebellum is like a sensory area, and it's also a data-driven structure, which means that it doesn't have any program. We don't have a program, basically because our bodies change over time. In the next slides, I'm going to show you the latest experiments we have carried out by embedding the cerebellum model into robots. The first example of brain embodiment is a work that we have done in collaboration with EPFL, and in this work we wanted to reproduce the results from real mice during a locomotion task. The mouse you see in the video had to work on a split belt and had to adapt to a changing condition. So the velocity of one belt was modified during the locomotion task. We implemented a cerebellar-based control system based on hypotheses from the literature. Neuroscientists suggested that the cerebellum could perform a spatial adaptation. We hypothesized that this spatial adaptation comes from the cerebellum by modifying the pattern formation of the spinal central pattern generator. And the results we got confirmed that our control model was able to reduce the errors and adapt the interlimb parameters as demonstrated in experiments with real mice and humans. This other example is about mimicking learning mechanisms from living organisms. If you look at the video on the left, there is a guy making a very challenging task, and you may be thinking that he has trained a lot. But what you may not be thinking is that this learning has started when he was a newborn. Since we are born, we deploy what is called motor bubbling, which is a random motion generation that covers the whole space and leads to the formation of sensory motor maps. So by relying on such sensory motor maps and on the cerebellar skills, humans are able to perform tasks in a very efficient and accurate way. In this work, in collaboration with the Polytechnic of Hong Kong, we have proposed a spiky neural network for approximating differential sensory motor maps and a spiking cerebellar model or controller to reach faster and accurate movements of a robotic arm. First, a coarse controller is built and trained through motor bubbling process. Feedback data from proprioceptive and exteroceptive sensors are encoded and fed into the input layer. Then, A spiking cerebellar controller is added to correct sensory readings and allow for movements with higher precision. The cerebellum is supervised by the error provided in task space. In the experiments, we carried out a typical visual servoing task to show that our spiking neural network is capable of handling noisy sensor reading to guide the robot arm through in real time. The cerebellum improves the servoing performance as the error decreases, and the robot manages to have a more accurate and faster tracking performance, as you can see in this video. Finally, I would like to thank all the collaborators involved in these experiments I showed to you, and to all of you to listen to this presentation.
Fascinating research. We're back at the DTU library with Silvia Tolo in the other chair. So welcome, Silvia.
Thanks, Ole, and hello, everybody.
It's fascinating what you do here, but I'm thinking, what kind of applications do you foresee for something like that in maybe some years?
That's a good question, Ole. First of all, I will say that neurorobotics is an holistic, applies an holistic approach. So it combines computational neuroscience, artificial intelligence, and biology, for example. And because the goal we have is to open new paradigms in robotics. For example, to obtain adaptive control systems that can apply in many fields, but basically for obtaining autonomy in different applications, such as inspection, for example. For example, we are working at DTU now for a new domain in underwater robotics. Mm-hmm. And for that, we are really creating an interdisciplinary project in which we bring knowledge from microelectronics, material scientists, computational neuroscientists, electrical engineers, of course, to build a neuromorphic hardware that can be embedded on the robots, and the robot can then leave it alone in order to go far away and, for example, under the sea, and to inspect installations and to perform actions and to learn how to perform those actions. So basically, what we do is to leverage robotic embodiment for really understand and to build and to study neurobiological models of learning. Mm-hmm. So if systems become intelligent, then we can really have them to interact with changing context, environments, even with human beings. So this means that in the future, we will have artificial systems, such as robots, interacting with us, and at the same time, we can use robots as a tool for understanding ourselves as well, and understanding our brain. Mm-hmm. And if we understand our brain, then we can even understand when our brain doesn't work. So I foresee that we will use the robot as a tool for rehabilitation of brain diseases. This is another application, for example.
It's fascinating to get insight into this and go from maybe the technological side into the robotic side and have an insight into that. Thanks a lot for your presentation.